We are live here with another great episode of Grace Time TV on the Mary Grace Media Network. And I am Mary Grace. This is Tuesday, the 23rd of January, 2024. Pretty sure I've said 2023 on every other show, but 3 weeks into the year, I'm getting there. I hope everybody's having a great day, and I have a wonderful guest here for you today. As you're coming in, I want to remind everybody that the best way to get notified when I go live is to go to my website, marygracemedia.com, and sign up for my emails. You don't want to miss an episode, and I always send out emails before a show gets posted or goes live. So that really is the best way for you to know that we have a show going on. It looks like people are coming in over on my streaming platform. So please, as you come in, say hello, share this, tag others, let them know that we are live, because these big tech people really don't like to get the word out on the streams. So it's up to you to do it, and hit the hearts, hit the likes, do whatever you can while we're doing the show. Now, I want to introduce my guest here. We have this is a great story, because my guest is Andrew Sorchini, and he is the owner and founder of Beverly Hills Precious Metals. Andrew and I met a couple of years ago, almost 3 years ago, out in Tulsa at an event that was sponsored by our mutual friend Clay Clark. You guys love Clay Clark. He's a friend of the show. And Andrew and I met, and then it's just life got in the way, and we haven't been able to connect again, but I've heard him as a guest on other shows, and we finally made this work. So Andrew, it's wonderful to have you on the show. Welcome. You're on Grace Time.
Well, thanks, Mary. It's great to be here, and I'm looking forward to spreading the word to how precious metals can help the people that listen to you.
I really am too. One of the things I like about listening to you is that you're such a good teacher. You're very calm. You're very rational. There's no panic porn in your tone or in your conversation. You really just tell people, here's how things work, and here's what's happening, and here's how you can be proactive to solve these issues. And so I want to ask you the first thing. You have a company, Beverly Hills Precious Metals Exchange, and you're out in California, nice and warm out there, but you work with people internationally, right? You work with people all over the country and outside of the U.S. So how does that work? How can you be based in one state and help people outside of that state and outside of this country in some cases?
Well, we're all over the United States, but as far as dealing with people that are outside of the U.S., what we need to do is set up a storage account for them at one of the storage facilities that we use. It's called a depository that's based out of Delaware. And I've been using them for over 16 years. And it's really great. It's insured. It's insured against just about anything out there, including terrorism and what they call acts of God. And the fees are very minimal. So it's for the people outside of the country, they do need to have it stored here in the States, because shipping gold and silver outside of the country creates a bunch of customs issues.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. But it belongs to the individual when they do that, correct?
It does, and they can request delivery from the depository from that point. The depository can ship outbound anywhere in the world.
Okay, great. Now, you're new to my listeners, and so I just wanted to get a little background. How did you actually get involved in gold and silver? I mean, it's one of those things that's kind of in the realm of a little bit out there for some people. Like it's some people are just starting to get it now. I had family members who would give people silver dollars and or gold coins and things like that for Christmas and birthdays, and and that was always kind of like the odd outlier in the family who did that.
Exactly.
But now, come to find out, that was one of the most valuable gifts anybody could impart. So tell us your story. How did you get involved?
Mine's actually very unique. So I'm born and raised in California, and when I was 9 years old, my parents moved us to this town called West Covina. And in West Covina, if you were to jump over our back wall, you would be in a parking lot of a strip mall where they had like a Sizzler and a Jack LaLanne's workout gym and many other businesses. From there, if you cross the street, there's a big shopping mall. So being a young kid, I would go across the street. When I got a couple of years older than that, we would cross the street and go into this area called the Sega Center and use all the quarters in our pockets to play video games. And then after about 15, 20 minutes, all the money's gone. And we just wanted to hang out in the mall and see like what kind of things that we can look at. And they
Yeah.
had a coin shop in there. And I always liked the old things. I like the coins. And my mother worked at a grocery store where she would pick out the old pennies and silver
Hmm.
dimes and quarters and then buy them out at the end of the day and bring them home to me. She knew I liked that stuff. So
Yeah.
I'd hang out in the coin shop all the time from I was 11, 12 years old. Then by the time I was about 15, they started giving me jobs. They'd say, "Hey, Andrew, why don't you work on this project for an hour? We'll give you the minimum wage," which was like $3.35. And then I started putting in more and more hours like that. My parents knew what I was doing. And after a while, I started putting in so many hours there that they said, "Well, you're 15 now. You need to go to your school and get a worker's permit. You need to have your parents sign off on some documents where we can pay you by check, no more cash, where you're paying taxes." And I did that from the time I was 15 to the time I was about 23, 24 at
Hmm.
that same shop. And I left because I wanted to find a real job. I never thought that dealing in gold and silver and sports memorabilia would be a real job. But then I
Interesting.
realized, and part of the reason why I'm so calm all the time and why I like to explain the things is that all I did as a young person was watch what the other people that worked in the coin shop did. I
Okay.
watched people come in with like $20 gold pieces with dirt on them because they had them buried in their backyard. I would ask the owner, why do people need to have so much silver? And he would explain to me that silver is an alternate currency and that it's thought that silver could be used for bartering if the dollar were to become worthless. And all I did was just soak in this information for years. And I tried to do a couple of other things after that, but I was always drawn to go back. And that's where I find myself today. So that was back in
Interesting.
1985. And here we are in 2024. And I was looking for some inspiration about 3 or 4 years ago to make this seem like it's not like Groundhog Day over and over again, where I could
Hmm.
have like some extra push to get up in the morning and do it. And that's when I got involved with Clay Clark, met people like yourself, and I work with several different ministries, and that's really changed my outlook on what this is. It's before it was a business. I have this for sale. You pay for it. Now it's yours. But now I'm
Hmm.
actually educating people on the benefits of gold and silver. And what I've taken for granted is something that I've done for years and years and years, just seemed a little monotonous. But now I'm able to explain how it can help people, and they're grateful to gain that knowledge.
I love that story. Isn't it interesting because we share a lot of the same values here with Clay and other people. You said you work with some ministries. I love to hear people's stories because God has His hand in your destiny from a very young age, and you were living across the street from a mall that had a gold and silver shop in it, and you just happened to be drawn to that. Just happened, right?
Yep.
Circumstantial. And it's like God knows our inmost being because He created us, and that it's like He drew you to that place and to those people who are willing to mentor you, basically, and to give you these little jobs, and you were just listening the whole time and absorbing what they were doing. I love those stories. It's just such a great story about God bringing you into your destiny from an early age, and I hope that our listeners can take from that as well. There aren't really any mistakes in God's economy. But speaking of economy, we're being told that the economy is doing better, that inflation is better, that the Dow is at a record high, and things like that. But people who have retirement accounts, either they're building their accounts or they're in retirement and they're looking toward taking distributions, or they want to make sure their money lasts. What's the feeling there? Are you getting that impression from regular everyday people that are thinking about retirement? Are they optimistic?
They're not. Most of the people that I talk to that are either retired or about to retire, they're very concerned as to whether or not their nest egg is going to be enough to last the rest of their lives. We'd all like to live to be 100 years old, but that's what a lot of them are sort of planning for.
Hmm.
Others realize that it's really impossible to do that, and they're just trying to stretch it as long as they can. And we've tried to help people optimize their accounts with just a little bit of guidance. So
Hmm.
for example, right now in the stock market, the only thing that's really doing good are some of the technology stocks.
Yeah.
And I don't trust that a whole lot right now because our current administration wants to sell us a bill of goods in that everything is going to be great for like the next 4+ years. And that's what they want us to believe. And that's the agenda that they're using to get reelected. Well, in doing so, they're printing more and more dollars that aren't backed by anything real. This is going to create inflation. And when there's inflation, then gold and silver tend to go up in value. And there's a whole lot of other factors. We've got what's going on in Ukraine. We've got what's happened in Israel. And here we are, we're practically in a war right now, but we're not being told that that's what it is. And all of the indications that I'm getting are that the dollar is going to become dethroned as the world's reserve currency, which in turn will make gold and silver skyrocket. And why not? Everything else has skyrocketed. Bitcoin has, real estate has, stocks have, and why couldn't we have $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 an ounce gold? It's the world's currency and always has been for thousands of years. So we're just helping people get positioned to be ready for what's coming.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because up until really the middle, I would say the early part of the 20th century, people carried around gold and silver coins. I read a lot of historic fiction. I watch some of these older movies about the 19th century and things like that. People had pouches with gold and silver in it. They even sewed the money into their clothes as they were traveling, and then took it out when they got where they were going. And nowadays, it's just not as common because the country went off of the gold standard and started using paper. The paper initially was to indicate how much gold and silver you had deposited, but then it became a promissory note. And we don't have time to go into all of that. But what I do want to ask you is when a person talks to you about their retirement account, what advice are you giving them? Let's say they have an IRA, they've been saving all of this tax deferred money, and they're worried about all of the things that you just talked about. What are some of the options that you're presenting them?
Well, as many of the people that listen probably already know, you can own an IRA or a 401k that can be backed by physical gold and silver. And these aren't paper assets. This isn't where you're buying shares in mining companies or buying shares in pallets of gold and silver that supposedly exist. Many of those are oversold. Where it's similar to this. Let's say I had a house for sale and I
Mhm.
wanted to sell that home for 100 different people. And the agreement is that no person that buys that home could move into it and live in it. That this is actually occurring with paper, gold, and silver. It doesn't sound legal. I'm sure if I did it, I would get in a whole lot of trouble. But
Mhm.
somehow the centralized banking system and the brokerage houses are able to offer those types of investments where you're buying the exact same gold and silver that somebody else has bought because it's all on paper. So if everybody wanted to sell at the same time, there's going to be liquidity issues. So for me, you have to have the physical gold and silver, and that's what I try to teach the people that we talk to on the phones. I also let them know that it doesn't create a taxable event when you convert or roll over your 401k or IRA into a precious metals IRA. If you speak with your broker, they might tell you that it will. They'll tell you anything to keep your funds where they're at. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person or that they're liars. They're just following what the management at the big brokerage houses are telling them to do because they're threatened by physical gold and silver for the simple fact that they cannot offer it. So
Okay.
licensed financial advisors and licensed brokers cannot offer physical gold and silver. So when you take your funds from them, when you sell your stocks and then you roll it over into a precious metals IRA, that's threatening to them, and it threatens the potential success ongoing of their business. So they really will say anything they can for you to keep it there. But really, this isn't the world that our parents taught us about, where you get a mutual fund and you hold it for 30 years and you turn 15,000 into $1 million. That doesn't happen anymore. So you need to take matters into your own hands.
So when you say that you can put your gold and silver into, or that you can put some gold and silver, put your IRA, 401k into gold and silver, you're talking about just exchanging one form of wealth for a different one, right? It's not really a purchase. Can you explain that? Explain how that works?
It's actually more of a conversion of currency. So whether it be within an IRA or even a cash deal. So let's say somebody sends us $50,000 for a mixture of gold and silver. It's not a purchase. This isn't like you went out and bought a Tesla as a third car because you thought it would be fun, and then you turn around and sell it, 2 years later for $35,000 or $30,000, where you end up losing. That's a depreciating asset. Where gold and silver are an asset that you can hedge with. It's currency. Like, I was in Dubai about 3-4 weeks ago, and I took cash, Bitcoin, and gold with me because I collect nice watches and I wanted to buy a couple of them. And it was during the holidays, and there was also the time difference, so I couldn't wire funds to them. So they were willing to take the Bitcoin and they were willing to take the gold, but they weren't so excited to take the cash. So it doesn't matter where you are at anywhere in the world, you can use gold or silver to be able to make purchases. It's just that has to be an agreement between you and the person that you're transacting with, that the value of what you have has real value. So it could be like a gold bar. But with our dollars, it's similar in that we agree that $100 bill can buy $100 worth of items. But really, in the end, it's not worth anything. Our government could just turn it off the next day and move to another currency. It doesn't happen here, but it's happened in other countries.
It's interesting. And I like what you're saying about transferring into a different type of currency, because I think that makes a lot of sense. Because I think the misconception people have sometimes is that when we talk about gold and silver, that they equate it to what you just illustrated of buying a car that depreciates, or buying an item, a luxury item that is going to depreciate the minute you get it in many cases. But that's, or a collectible piece or something like that. But you're talking about actual currency. And I'm glad you're explaining that. And so if somebody has cash in the bank, if they're worried about not keeping up with inflation, or if they have an IRA or 401k, it sounds like they need to contact you
Yeah,
and
they
see
should.
about. Yeah. Let me put your contact information up here. You have a website, bh-pm.com. They can also call you. What's your number there?
The number is 866-346-5325. And I'll repeat it. It's 866, it's 346-5325.
Okay, 866-346-5325.
Yes.
It's on the screen. So if you're not able to look right now, if you're driving, if you're just listening to the audio, it is here on the video. So you can take a screenshot, or you can scan the QR code to go to the website. Just, please be safe. Pull over if you need to do that.
And
Yeah.
but
Go
if
ahead.
people go on the website and if they fill out the online form, there's you'll put in your first name and last name, phone number that we can reach you at, email address, and it says, how did you hear about us? And say that Mary Grace sent me, or Grace Time. And the reason why I mention this is that at the bottom there's a little note section, and some of the notes that I see there are people want to understand how they can get set up with our private storage, which is not stored here. It's stored at a depository where that's what they do. They're licensed and bonded for storage of precious metals. Some people want to learn how to roll over a 401k or an IRA into a precious metals IRA, and put that in the notes section. And any questions at all, if you've been investing in
Hmm.
gold and silver for years and you don't need to know the basics of it because you already know, you just want to check a price on something, then do that. If you are a complete newbie and would like to speak with somebody that's going to answer all of your questions and be patient with you, let me know because I have a department that specializes in just that.
Oh, good. Okay, yeah, because I sometimes I feel that way, and I have a lot of listeners. It's a brand new idea, and I was always told that the only bad question is the question you don't ask. So when you contact them, don't be just say, "Hey, I'm new. I don't know anything. I'm whatever. I'm worried about my 401k, et cetera, et cetera. I have a lot of questions." And so if you do that, Andrew has a team that's dedicated to answering some of those questions. Speaking of, though, comments and questions, uh, what are the latest things that you and your customers are hearing from investment advisors and bankers? I mentioned at the top of the show that they're saying that inflation is easing and that interest rates are going down, and yay, everybody should just hold. But what are some things you're hearing out of the industry?
Well, I'm seeing a lot of the games that bankers are playing to keep people from making precious metals purchases. Here are some of the stories that have actually happened. So we have people that once people contact us, once we make an agreement that you're going to convert a certain amount of dollars into gold and silver, let's call it $50,000. Okay,
Hmm.
so you go into your bank and you say, I want to wire these guys $50,000. And the bank has a series of questions when you go to send that wire transfer. They say, okay, great. So do you know the people that you're doing business with? And they'll say things like, well, I know about them because I've watched Mary Grace for the last couple of years and I feel that it's okay. And they go, good. So how did you get these wire transfer instructions? And they'll say, well, they sent it to me in the email. And then they'll say,
Hmm.
oh, well, that's a big no-no. You do know that a lot of fraud happens with
Yeah.
wire instructions sent through the email. They'll say, here's what I'd like you to do. Call the number that you have for them right now, meaning me, and then verify the bank wire instructions. They know that oftentimes the bank knows that oftentimes that the representative that you spoke with will probably be on another call. That's what they do. They're on the phone all day long.
Yeah.
If they don't answer the call, then the bankers will say, oh, you see, you should probably hold off on this because there's a lot of fraud going on right now. And
Mm.
that scares people. People feel good about the purchase or the investment, I should say.
Yeah.
And then the banks will plant this idea. And we've had this happen numerous times. Another example, I had a husband and wife that wanted to roll over 1.3 million into a precious metals IRA. And it took like 4 weeks and they were starting to get frustrated because usually it only takes about 10 to 14 days to
Hmm.
get the account set up.
Yeah.
But after 4 weeks of the money transfer not coming from their existing custodian to us, they said, geez, I'm a little bit concerned. You guys can't receive the money in a timely fashion. I'm worried about how you might be able to like really manage my account. And I said, well, it's not on our end. It's we've been sending over the transfer requests. It's just that your existing IRA custodian is ignoring those requests. And they said, oh no, that's not us. That's a family friend. He comes to our house for the holidays. I go, I stand my ground. They are lying to you. They're not sending the requests. So
Wow.
cutting the long story short, they said that they will go down there that afternoon and talk with him. And he came clean. He said, yeah, he's like, I didn't want you guys to do this. So I've taken these requests and I've tossed them in the trash. And they were so upset. They pulled all their money from him. They told their friends and family to do the same thing. And I understand that the guy's not a bad guy. It's just he's being told to do that by the people above him because our banking system really is threatened by the fact that the dollars that we're printing out of thin air might not have any value soon. And gold and silver have always had value, will always have value. And when we're no longer here, those will still be here, the
Yeah.
gold and silver. So really, it's you have to
It,
stand your ground.
it's interesting. I mean, that this person was acting as a gatekeeper.
Hmm.
And in so many cases, it kind of reminds me of the information war that we're in, that people have this idea that they are the gatekeepers of information and truth. And this is what we see in the media. We've actually heard media personalities say it's our job to tell people what to think, right? And so, with the rise of people like you, with shows like mine, uh, we're giving people alternatives. One of the things that I want to say, though, about that when it comes to the trustworthy factor is that for me, I think that my longtime listeners know this, that I am not quick to jump on a bandwagon, whether it's a new information source, whether it's somebody who has quote inside information, whether it's the latest rumors that are going around. I'm very reluctant to do that. And so when I bring in a partner with the show, it's because I've taken the time to vet them and because I trust the people who are referring them to me. I've had a long-standing relationship now with my friend Clay Clark, and I've witnessed how he does business and who he does business with. And so I do want to give my listeners the assurance that this is how I go through the process of bringing somebody on as an affiliate partner. And people ask me a lot, who can I trust? Where can I go for this? I get emails about it. And so I do want you to understand my process. As my listeners, I have a strong vetting process. And so if you do have that conversation with your broker or with your banker, it's between you and them, but ultimately I want you to have the peace of mind that this is where Andrew is coming from. He's not a fly by night person that I just found on the internet. Because I mean that is important. It is important for people to understand that because there are scams through email. I've known somebody that it's happened to personally with a real estate transaction. So yes, we do want to be careful, but at the same time, just know and have the peace of mind that, this is the relationship that we have here with Andrew and with the people that he works with. And he's got a great track record. So it's like the wild, wild west out there sometimes. I wanted to ask you quickly a little bit about the central bank digital currency. President Trump recently came out saying that he's not going to allow this in the United States, but it's a thing that's happening around the globe. Can you give our listeners a really quick breakdown of what that is and how it can affect us and our savings and our money?
Sure, sure. And I just want to preface that by saying that I've seen recently that no currencies tend to last more than 95 years. So, for example, we
Interesting.
went to the dollar,
Mm-hmm.
roughly around that time ago, and after that, things evolve. And we used to actually have a gold-backed currency here, and in 1971, we went completely off of the gold-backed currency, and that's when it became fiat. Fiat is currency that's not backed by everything real, by anything real. And once the United States went to the fiat currency model, the rest of the world followed suit. Now, starting with Russia and China and Brazil and India and South Africa, those five countries started something called BRICS. BRICS is coming out with a gold-backed central bank digital currency that can be programmable. And I'll explain that last part in a moment. So seeing that there's a need globally to have currency that's backed by tangible assets like gold and silver, it seems like the fix. So they're actually de-dollarizing the entire globe and making it so that other countries no longer trade in the dollar. One big example, Saudi Arabia used to transact with other countries in oil deals with the dollar. So if Saudi Arabia sold China some oil, or if Saudi Arabia sold Russia some oil, then those transactions happened with the US dollar. Well, as of January 1st of this year, that's no longer the case. They're now transacting in their own currency, and they're moving to a central bank digital currency that is gold backed. So with that looming, and the president of BRICS is Vladimir Putin, and with that looming, I think that it's going to be very good for gold and silver. I think that United States is going to have to follow suit and come up with a better type of gold-backed currency before these people can unseat us as a world's reserve currency.
Interesting. Yeah, and the key there is being gold backed. Now,
Yes.
one of the big questions people ask is, what's better, gold or silver? When I move my money over, and then the other question they ask is, what do I do, like if I need to buy something, right? That's a big question I get.
Yeah, those
So,
are actually big questions that we get.
yeah.
So so as far as like let's say somebody's retired, they're 75 years old, and they want to roll over their retirement into a precious metals IRA. For them, I might go with more gold than silver
Hmm.
because gold tends to go up constantly, but very slowly. And so for the past 100 years, gold has always gone up, like always. But silver can be quite volatile. Okay.
Okay.
If you feel that you have a lot of time where you don't need to access your investment, then I would go with silver because silver has a better chance to double or triple in price than gold. But you might find yourself waiting a very long time for
Okay.
silver to get to where you need it to be. And
Okay.
that's just a good, honest answer. There's people out there that say that silver should be $600 an ounce. It probably should be, but it has been $50 an ounce on two different occasions in the past, and it's
Hmm.
currently at about 22.50 an ounce,
Yeah. Yeah.
$22.50 an ounce. So for me, just logically thinking, I think silver has a lot of room to
Hmm.
run up, but gold might be what helps you sleep at night. So if you what I mean by that is if you had a rental property and you just sold that property and now you have a few $100,000 extra sitting in your bank account, when you go to sleep at night, you start thinking about all the bad things that could happen to that cash that's just sitting there unprotected. You
Yeah.
turn on the news, you get scared. So you might want to convert some or maybe all of that into gold and then have it stored at your home or at the depository. I did see one of the questions here. They wanted to know, do we only ship gold and silver to depositories, or can people have it sent to their home or office? And they can definitely have it sent to their home or office. So
Hmm.
it's many people feel with whatever amount that they have that is currently at risk, that they will feel more comfortable converting that into gold until they could figure out what to do with it next.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense, especially because we hear stories about banks actually going under.
Yeah.
And one thing I think people don't understand is that the banks actually don't have all of your cash in them. They're lending out your money to make money, and this is one of the reasons we've heard stories of people going to the bank to withdraw, say, $50,000, and the bank will tell you, you need to come back, you need to make an appointment because
Hmm.
we don't have that cash right now. And then of course they'll quiz you, why do you want it, what is it for, et cetera, et cetera. Really, it's none of their business, but that's the fact.
Hmm.
And I just made a comment to somebody in the chat here. Bankers are very friendly as long as you have your money in them, but that doesn't mean they're your friend, because they're using your money to make money. That it's a business, and that's always the way banks have worked. So it's just something to think about. Whether that's just a reality. Um, so we're coming up to the end of our time here, and I want to invite you back because people always have questions. They always want to kind of keep up with what's going on. And I hope that my listeners have found this valuable. If you have, please leave a comment when you come back to watch the replay, when you come back, whether it's by email or on the replay. Please let us know what you found valuable about this, but also any questions that you have. You can drop them in the chat, but preferably you're going to contact Andrew directly through his website or through the phone number. And there's the QR code again, so you can contact them. Andrew, any last words for our listeners, and also tell them one more time how to get in touch with you.
Sure. So we've talked about a lot of things that sound like they're doom and gloom, but it's really not that at all. Everything is going to be just fine. It's just
Yeah.
there's no cookie cutter approach to protecting your investments over all of time. So sometimes we have to take what feel like drastic measures, and this is a good time to forget about trying to make money with your investments. This is a good time to try to preserve the wealth that you've worked your whole life for. After all, our presidency affects the entire world. We're going to probably have a new president here in about 10 months, and it's important that as we go into this uncertain period, that we do what we can to protect what we have, because you can always switch it back to whatever you have. If you go into gold and silver now, you could go back into stocks in 2025. You can buy investment properties. You can do whatever you have to do. But so everything will be fine. But right now is a time where you do have to take extra measures to protect yourself. And as far as reaching us, go to bh-pm.com. The website is the best way to do it. Fill out the online form. Or if you reach us, say Monday through Thursday, you'll get a call back either that day or the next day. If it's on a Friday evening, you might not hear from us until Monday. Okay. But our lead time is actually pretty good. And right now, the price of gold and silver are very affordable. The premiums are low and they're available, which means we can ship quickly. And it's not always like this.
Okay, okay, that's good. And this is the time of year when people are really thinking about the future. And, there is a lot of uncertainty. What's going to happen with the election? My policy right now in January is don't wait. Don't wait another day. Get it done, get the forms filled out, do what you need to do. I forgot to mention, when you call, please mention that Mary Grace sent you. And then also when you go on the website, if you fill in the form, there's a place where you can let them know that you found out about them from Mary Grace or the Mary Grace Show. Whatever you say, they'll get it. But that would be awesome. Lisa on YouTube, this is so great. She's going to refer her son and daughter-in-law to you guys. So thank you, Lisa. She's been a long-time listener. I appreciate that. So I hope that this has given everybody peace of mind today, and that you know that you have another great resource to go to get your questions answered, and to get some peace of mind about what you're going to do to steward and protect the wealth that God has given you. Everybody have a great day, and we will see you back here soon on Grace Time TV. Thank you again, Andrew Sorchini, for being on the show.
Well, thanks for having me, and I look forward to